So I recently picked up two new DC Compact comics, one of which was Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and I did not take long to read through this. First of all, because it's not the biggest or longest comic in the world, it's not one of the chunkier compact comics, but also because it was really hard to put down. I didn't really know what to expect when I picked this up. I literally just picked it up based on the fact that I would like to read some good Supergirl stories, and I've heard that this is a good one, hence why it's being published as a compact comic. I also know that the upcoming Supergirl movie is based on this, and I have seen the first trailer for it. I'm excited for that, but I'm not gonna lie, there's nothing in that trailer that necessarily jumped out at me and made me go, I need to read the source material. And funnily enough, as I was finishing up this, the second trailer dropped, so how's that for some synchronization? But Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow is written by Tom King, drawn by Bilquis Evely, and colored by Mateus Lopez. Apologies if I mispronounced any of those names. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, I adored every single page in every sense across all disciplines, brought together here to create this tale. The prose was spectacular. The art was stunning. The coloring was gorgeous. Every page was a treat for the eyes and a treat for the imagination I need to form my thoughts into a critically cohesive video instead of just gushing. But allow me to gush for a second. God damn, this is a good comic. This is a story that takes Supergirl and removes her from Earth. This is not an Earth-based story because she's just reached 21 years of age, legal drinking age in America, and she's decided she wants to go and get pissed. But she can't get pissed under a yellow sun, so she's gone to a planet with a red sun. Bit reckless, very on brand, from what I understand of a character. But the delightful thing about this story is it is not told from the perspective of Supergirl, it's told from the perspective of a girl named Rufie, it's hard to pronounce, or Ruche. I just call her Ruf, because the world that Supergirl has landed on is one of a sort of medieval culture, and the protagonist, the storyteller, the narrator of this tale, Ruf, her father was murdered by a corrupt king's agent who then she wanted to track down and seek vengeance on. And this entire story is about a quest for vengeance. And it's a quest. It's a fucking odyssey. It's an outer space odyssey. So let's see. What have we got here? We've got a narrative being told about a superhero character from the perspective of somebody else, telling it retrospectively from later on in life as an old woman, and it is set as a galaxies spanning adventure on a quest for vengeance. This story was tailor-made for me. I love all of those things. And what I really like about Ruth as well, the narrator, is that she's very well spoken and very kind of like quite stiff in her dialogue a lot of the time. You know how Thor used to talk in the original movies in the MCU? Not quite so much nowadays. It's a bit like that. Not quite as archaic, but a little bit like that. And that's really fun because, first of all, you've got this tale of Supergirl from an advanced civilization interacting with Ruth from a much less advanced civilization. So you can imagine the temptation to portray the less advanced civilization as less intelligent, more barbaric or whatever, but that's not the case here. We're not doing Stone Age and barbarians hitting each other. We're doing knights and order, and Ruth is a learned individual, it seems like, and it's really fun to see from that perspective. It's a little different to what you might expect, but it makes sense. And then, I think around here I do want to place a spoiler warning and say I'm about to start talking about some plot details that I think it would be better for you to experience firsthand. So this is a very unwise thing to do as a YouTuber, but if you haven't read this book, please leave. Leave a like on your way out if you've enjoyed what I've said so far. But honestly, if what I've said to you so far sounds like the kind of thing you would enjoy, you owe it to yourself to not just hear me blather on about what's gonna happen, but to go and experience it yourself, because it's not exactly the most crazy, unexpected, twisty-turny story in the world, although there are twists and turns. It's more just that it's such a thoroughly well crafted and well told story that you would do well to experience it firsthand instead of hearing it from me, because I can't do it justice. So, okay, now that that's out of the way, let's continue. So, Supergirl gets involved when, first of all, Ruth tracks her down because Ruth has been looking for someone to hire to help hunt down her father's killer. And Supergirl's like, killing's bad, kid. Look, I get it. I get you're upset, but don't do that. I gotta go anyway. Good luck with all that. And then Ruth follows her, and then Krem of the Yellow Hills, I believe he's called, is also around, and battle ensues, and he shoots Crypto. He shoots the dog, which is very upsetting, and the dog is poisoned. And Supergirl leaves him with a vet, and the kind of like, it's not outright stated immediately. It's left open to interpretation. At first I was like, does Crypto just straight up die, and this is a quest for vengeance from Supergirl as well, because she's furious? And she's like, okay, fine. Are you still looking for a killer to go kill Krem of the Yellow Hills? I'll go with you, kind of thing. But later it's kind of revealed that, he's sick, and you need the poison to get an antidote from the poison to heal the dog. And then at the very end of the story, I told you we're talking spoilers, it's revealed that actually no, Crypto's fine, and Supergirl's on this quest with Ruth, mostly out of kindness, to try and show her like vengeance isn't worth it. And the really great thing about this tale is, instead of Supergirl showing Ruth that vengeance isn't right and the universe isn't like that, and it's, good things prevail and stuff, it ends up, while that does happen, it ends up kind of working the other way as well, where Supergirl sees like genocidal horrors and the things that this Krem is capable of, and it comes down to like, is she actually gonna go through with it and kill him? And that's the big question at the end of the story. So yeah, I just jumped through a lot of the story there, but what I really like is every world that they visit is so unique, but also recognizable. Like, this kind of society isn't exactly completely out of the ordinary, but it's not like Star Trek where it's just people. A lot of the time, not always, I know, but like, it's also the kind of story where it feels like, and this is kind of paradoxical, but I think this is what you get out of a lot of the best stories, it feels like you could tell a much longer story out of this particular journey. You could linger on planets, you could explore their cultural mores, and you could talk about the worlds they visit between the worlds we're shown. And like, Ruth even says this in her narration, like, I'm going to skip over a lot of stuff because just assume that a lot of things like this happened, but it was a long journey kind of thing. And part of me's like, I would really love a massive 1,200 page omnibus tome of their extended travels or whatever. But the thing that makes this so great is the tightness of the pacing, and the fact that, like I said, not a single page is wasted. Every single page furthers the story and the characterization and shows us new places and shows us reactions to things, and that sounds like a given. That sounds like what any story should do, but as someone who reads a lot of epic fantasy, that isn't the only valid method of telling a story. But in this case, it's such a tightly crafted story that it just feels so potent for it. I think there's merit in both ways of doing it: an extensive, deep look into a very long journey, or this tightly crafted experience of like, and then we went here and we saw these people and we found out this, and then this happened. And I'm not doing it justice by saying it like that. The prose, by the way, as well, as I've already mentioned, is gorgeous. I am a sucker for an old person recounting a tale of their youth with retrospect, and boy howdy does Tom King deliver on that front in this story. I've heard, by the way, that Tom King delivers either incredible stories or really awful ones. I'm guessing this is an incredible one. Let me just show you this comic as well, because if anyone saw my story about my recent haul of a grand total of 2 comics, or DC Compact Comics, then you'll know that, like, I was like, oh, this is a little bit thinner than most compact comics, but I'm fine with it. I even mentioned, like, the value of a story isn't necessarily tied to its length, but I was like, yeah, it's a little smaller than most compact comics. I actually view this as a positive now, having read through the entire thing. I look at the relative thinness of this book as like, you know how I was just talking about how tightly crafted it is? That's what I see now when I see the size of this book. But I just want to show you, like, even just quickly flipping through the pages of this book, every page is gorgeous. Look at it. Look at how good it is. And the way they draw Supergirl as well is so good. And especially towards the end as well, where she's really fighting with her desire to kill Krem for being this awful, awful person who at this point has resulted in the death of Comet, her friend and horse. And like, you know, Ruth is trying to talk her down. Look at that facial expression. Look at those eyes. That's incredible. That's so good. And something I haven't talked about yet is how in one of the chapters of this story, we retell Supergirl's origin. And Ruth says, yeah, you've heard it before, but you haven't heard it from her perspective. We've only really heard it from, you know, for instance, Superman's perspective of like, oh, I have a cousin and she's showing up and like, this is, you know, she's here for me, but she's late and all this stuff. That's very much from Superman's perspective. What was it like from Supergirl's perspective to see everything she knows and loves fall to ruin? And as it's mentioned, she deals with everyone she knows suffering and dying 3 times over by the time she is 14 years old. And what does that look like? And we see the pain that Kara carries with her each and every single day through her memories. We see you know, the desperate attempts to survive as Krypton is ripped apart and like survive in space and just the absolute desolation and loss of hope. It's so poignant. And honestly, I don't think I'm ever going to see this character the same for it. Like, I don't know how much good Supergirl material is out there that kind of builds on this version of the character. If anyone has any recommendations, please point me at them because I love this version of Supergirl so much. She's incredible. And what I also like about this story is Supergirl is very often shown as like this teenage/young adult superhero. Here she's 21 and she very much feels like she's become or is becoming an adult. She feels very motherly in some respects towards Ruth, and it's a side of her that really suits her. And I think it's also really fun to explore her kindness, because at first I was like, this is a version of Supergirl who's, you know, compared to some of the older stuff I was reading in like the Death and Return of Superman, I've also seen her portrayed as quite naive and stuff, basically. Whereas here she's very like, you know, she is how she appears in the most recent Superman movie, and of course the upcoming Supergirl movie, which is going to adapt this, where she's quite profane and vulgar and brash and chaotic. And at first you're like, I don't see like Superman's kindness in that character, but then you see it's not that far below the surface, and it's almost more poignant because of that. It's almost more potent because of that. Like, it feels more earned when you see that side of her, if that makes sense, and that's really special. As for the movie, by the way, when I was halfway through this book, I was like, I am now more excited for the movie than ever. I already was, because I really like the recent Superman movie, and I like who they've cast as Supergirl and all that, but I am like more excited than ever knowing that they're adapting a story that's this good. And now that I've finished this book, I'm kind of flipping back on like, I don't know that I need to see it adapted. I don't know that it can do this justice, especially not the art, you know? Like, I've already shown you the book. The art is very, you know, it's very intricate. It's of a particular style, and the colouring is very vibrant and beautiful. And in the trailers, the movie looks quite brown. You know, like, it doesn't have to follow the same art style or anything like that, or the same colorization style, but I'm very much reminded that, like, all right, yeah, this is a movie where I'm looking at real human beings, and it's live action and all that. It doesn't have to look brown, and maybe I'm being a little reductive and just calling it like brown, but also like the fact that they're putting Lobo into the story, which could be fun and does feel like it could fit, but it reminds me that this isn't just going to be a straight up adaptation. They're going to be remixing elements because that's what these movies do, and I don't know if it's going to hit quite as good, but you know, we'll see. I'll go watch it, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it, but I'm not sat here going, man, I can't wait for the Supergirl movie now, because it's not like I think the story could be done more justice by being adapted. I think the story is perfect in this format, and I already tried to spook you off earlier, but if you're still here and now you know the entire story, well, you don't know the entire story. There's things I haven't even spoken about, but it's absolutely worth reading and picking up and owning. So glad I did. Like the chapter with Mary Pole, especially, and Ruth at the end saying it's too big, we're too small, and that being repeated later as well. It's so relatable as well in so many aspects, and this is where I think the best science fiction lies is, and fantasy, using alien worlds and made up cultures and stuff to reflect our own reality back at us in a way that has us looking at it as something that isn't normal, and seeing horrors reflected as well. It's very well done. I'm gonna stop gushing. But thank you for checking out this video. Let me know what you think of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Please let me know if you have any recommendations for people who enjoy this particular story as well. Other than that, please leave a like if you enjoyed the video on the way out. It helps the channel a lot. Subscribe if you would like to see more comic reviews. And other than that, I'll catch you in the next one.